tell him how old you were when you went to live with her?
She was my dad's sister, and her husband was my mother's brother. After my mother died, why?
Tell us how Grandma died. I want to know how Grandma died.
Well, she got in a
We'll
car
do that
wreck.
when we're over here.
I want to know how Grandma died.
And it killed the unborn baby, and that killed her.
Did you all hear that? Grandma Nielson died when she was about 3 months pregnant, and she was in an automobile accident. And then the fact that she lost the baby and they weren't able to clean it out real well, she died from infection.
6 weeks later.
Yeah, 6 weeks later.
So then, Dad, he couldn't take care of us. There's 5 of us, so he, Aunt Tori, she took Doug and I, that's my brother and I. The rest of them went up around Tremont to live with relatives up there. But she had 8 children of her own, and then she had Doug and I, so pretty quickly I had to start to go to work. I was 11. He was about 5, yes, 6.
So that'd be the same age as, who's 11 here?
I am.
Okay? So when Grandpa was that age, he was without parents because his dad would go to the herd and couldn't take care of him. So when he was Garrett's age, he was 11. Who's 5? Anybody 5?
Jordan's 5.
Jordan's 5. Close to Jenna's age. Her brother was close to Jenna's age, and they came back. I mean, they were together, but then Grandpa had to go to work to support him when he was that age.
When I was 13, I started herding sheep in the summertime. Go out all summer to make enough money to get me in school in the fall.
Now, do you guys know what herding sheep does? What do you have to do to herd sheep? Ryan, what do you think you have to do to herd sheep?
Probably like just go around and go.
Okay.
I
Stay
guess
right
I'm
with
not
Do
sure.
you come home every night?
No, probably not.
Okay, what do you think, Josh? Do you think you come home every night?
No, you gotta watch.
Okay, what happens is, like, see those mountains up there? Those mountains are where, like, they made some of them. So somebody 13, who's 13? Okay, somebody Devin's age takes a camp wagon and a horse, a tent, and horses, and how many sheep, Dad?
Oh, usually a summer herd has 1,000 head of ewes in it and their lambs.
1,000 head of
the
sheep.
mama.
Takes them up on that mountain and stays with them for 3 months or 4 months, and then drives them back out of there to the desert that way. Now,
And there's
Grandpa,
2 of you there when you get out in the desert. In the wintertime, the 2 of you, I didn't go in the desert, but I have to stay and go to school.
but he was all alone. Okay, can you think about how young that was to be all alone up in those mountains in a tent with 1,000 head of sheep, taking care of them? Do you think any of you here could do that, Ryan? Would you want to do it at 15?
No.
How about you, Josh? So Grandpa didn't have a real easy life.
It wasn't a very good job, Ryan. You wouldn't want to do that one. You'd get out of it.
How much did you make, Dad?
$30 a month.
$30 a month. Okay, we've probably spent that much in a day down here, haven't we?
But $30 was quite a lot of money then. You could buy a pair of Levi's for $1.50, a pair of shoes for $2. You know, things were cheaper then. Nobody else had any money either, so.
What
So-
did you do for food, Grandpa?
What'd you do for food, Grandpa?
Where'd you get the food?
I'd bring some up about once a week.
So you'd have to do your own cooking too, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And your own laundry?
Yep. Chase your own horses, keep them tracked in.
Okay. So, tell me, Dad, where did you go to school? Where'd you go to like, high school?
Well, through elementary school and junior high, you went to Fountain Green. Then the last 3 years of high school, I went down to Moroni.
Now, Moroni was the town that we came
with
through
all the
just
turkeys.
before we got
About
here.
7 miles south of here.
Okay?
What would you do with your money after when you were sheep herding? Did you give it to Aunt Tori? Was that your money that you would keep for things?
No, what money I made, I used to buy my clothes and stuff to get in school with in the fall.
Dad, tell him what kind of grades you got in high school.
I done pretty well. I was one of the runner-ups for valedictorian. There was 2 girls and myself. And one girl got it. And the other girl, we didn't make it.
Okay?
Yeah, but to be elected or nominated to even
Huh?
do that's
I
pretty
think-
good grades, Dad.
What you kids need to think about is think of what Grandpa had to do all summer long, plus he had to support himself during the winter time, plus he still got good grades.
Okay? So if he was valedictorian, you know he had to have at
I
least,
wasn't a valedictorian.
well, if he was
Oh.
runner-up. Okay, then, Dad, what happened after high school?
I was herding sheep then when I went in service.
Okay, the full time then, huh?
Yeah.
So then he herded sheep. And how old were you when you went in the service?
Oh, about 24, something like that.
Okay. When did you meet and marry Mom?
After I came back from overseas.
Didn't you meet her one time before
I
that,
did,
though?
but I didn't really know her well. She only seen her one time.
Met her at a dance or something, didn't you?
No, I just met her in the street in Nephi. I did.
Hey, Dad, how
No,
long
we-
did it take you to travel from here to Nephi to see Mom?
Huh?
How long did it take you to come from here to Nephi
Oh,
to
I
date
don't know.
Mom?
Not too bad. I just...
You didn't have a car, did you?
I never had a car, but some of the other guys did. Go
You had to hitch a ride, didn't you?
Well, some of the other guys, they'd go over there too, you know, dancing. That wasn't where I met her in a dance. I just seen her one time before I was married. Well, then I come home from overseas and I took her out one night. I don't know. She was always looking for a redhead that had curly hair, and I was the guy.
That's
So-
why Mom fell in love with Dad, is because he had red curly hair.
How old were you when you married her?
Oh, I was probably
28, weren't you?
pretty close, yeah, 28.
Old enough to know better.
How old were you when you first proposed to her? And Grandma told you she was too young to marry.
Well, I don't know, I never heard
Don't
about
you
that
remember
one.
them tell?
Don't remember that.
Oh, I remember that.
Tell him where you went in the service, Dad. Where did you serve in World War II?
Oh, I trained in Scottsfield, Illinois, learned to be a radio operator, and then went to Harlingen, Texas to be a gunner. And back to Columbia and joined the crew on a B-25 bomber outfit.
And from there, where?
Then they shipped us overseas as medium bombers to New Guinea. That's north of Australia.
So he was stationed north of Australia, and he was a tail gunner and a radio operator. Do you know what the tail gunner is, Josh?
Well, all of them didn't have tail guns. I flew 2 missions as a medium bomber, and then they changed us into strafers. We was low altitude. They took the low turret out. We never had no protection in the back, so I got one of the guys in the army to help me mount a 50 in the tail, and that's where I laid.
So Grandpa was in the back of the plane with a 50 millimeter gun,
50 caliber.
50 caliber machine gun, shooting out the back with not a whole lot of protection. Did you have?
Never even wore a parachute. He wasn't high enough. He wouldn't do you any good anyway. He flew right on the treetops.
That's what the life expectancy was for the tail gunner.
What was the life expectancy for the tail gunner,
I
Dad?
don't know. Some got killed and some made it. I was the one that made it.
How many missions did you fly?
Huh?
How many hours?
How many missions did you fly?
50.
50?
Tell him about the mission you were supposed to fly and didn't have to. I mean, ended up not going, and the plane never came
that
back.
was my lucky mission.
Tell him about that, Dad.
Well, this operations officer, I don't know, every time he flew, he picked me for his radio operator. And I was scheduled to go with him, so when I went to our briefing and come back out to the plane, the enlisted men checked the guns, and I checked my radios and stuff. And here we see 3 guys coming across to the plane, and one of the guys was with us. He said, well, must be going to have an observer today. You got an extra guy. And so when they got so close, this pilot, he stopped and hollered at me, and I went over there and said, the commanding officer made him take this other radio operator because he was behind on missions and I was ahead. So he said, just go home and get in your tent and go to sleep till noon if you want to. So I did. I slept for a while, and then I got up and went down and had a shower and walked down to the radio shack to see if they'd heard anything from them. Opened the walked inside, and that operator there, he says, get out of here. He says, you're dead. What? He says, you're dead. I said, well, come on, Bart, let's shake hands. He said, the hell with you, I won't even talk to you. Then I started to laugh, and then he said, well, what happened? I said, well, what happened, Bart? Well, he says, the plane got hit, and Captain Major Manders, he pulled all the pins and dove the plane right into the ship that hit him.
So they all died. So if Grandpa
So-
would have been there,
We
wouldn't have been here.
Well, I kind of, at the time, I wasn't very religious. And I just figured I was lucky. And then I got to thinking later on in life that the Lord had some other mission for me to perform. so that's how I got her done. That's how we got all these kids.
What was your airplane name, Grandpa?
Huh?
What was the name of your plane called?
The name of your
Outhouse
plane.
Mouse.
Say it aloud again.
Outhouse Mouse.
Tell us about the time you guys were shot at when you were wounded.
Well, we were hit twice, and crash landed twice. Nobody got hurt, but we had the hydraulic shot out of one of the landing gear, and when it hit the runway, why, the other one caved in too. We just went down the runway.
So is that when you got wounded?
No, that was on another mission when I got shrapnel in my leg.
Is that how you got the Purple Heart? From shrapnel in your leg?
Yeah. Anyway, we had a top gunner. He was a big old Jew. He got out first, and I went back to the back end to help the engineer get out and kick the bulkhead out so he could come out and get out. When I come up over the top, the pilot came, the co-pilot sitting there, and I said, well, where'd Barron go? He says, that what passed through here about a half an hour ago? He's just a street going through here. So we had quite a time. It was dangerous. A lot of people got killed in that war. I was just one of the lucky ones.
Okay, over here, if we want to walk over this way, this is where Grandpa and Grandma Nielson are buried. Grandma Nielson, remember, died when? She died when Grandpa was 11. Okay, and so, and she came from, was it Denmark, Dad?
Who?
Your mom?
No, she was born in Taunton Green.
I know, but where's her ancestors?
Well, her dad was born in Illinois, but he was a Scotch Welsh descent.
Okay.
And
So
her mother was Swede.
Okay, so Swede and Scotch and Welsh, all right? And then Grandpa Nielsen was born actually in Denmark,
Yeah, he was born in Denmark.
and he was probably 1 or 2 years
No,
old,
he was about 6 months.
6 months when they came across. Great-grandpa Nielsen came first, and then his wife and children came later, a year later. So she was pregnant when her husband left her in Denmark, and then he sailed over here, came to Fountain Green, and then Grandpa was about 6 months old when they came across. They lost one child coming across.
Yeah, lost a girl.
And she was buried at sea. Over here too, you'll see 3 stones that are from Dad's brothers and sisters that died right at.
Well, his 2 sisters died at birth, and then there's the boy. He lived about 2 years, a little over.
So they were all born before Grandpa, even though Grandpa's the oldest. He's just the oldest living.
I was the oldest one that lived, so I was pampered, and that's why I'm so damned ornery.
Grandpa, do you think anything would be different if you had more brothers and sisters that lived?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it would. There might have been some old enough then so we could stay together. But after we all got married, well, we all got back together anyway. So.
Okay, let's walk over here and look at these, and then we'll.
Well, he got that from Grandpa Robertson.
What's the Dell for?
Well, he got the Dell part from him, you know.
Yeah, Eddie your dad was named, his middle name came from this boy.
Is Dell a family name? Is Dell a family name?
So, his name was Ernest Dell Nielsen.
That was what your dad's name was?
No, this is the brother. This is his older brother.
Oh, his older brother. So he just named him after his brother.
This is his dad's grave here.
This
Ernest
is where
J.
you got your E, though, isn't it? It's from him. Is this where your middle name came from?
That's where my name almost came from.
Forrest E? No?
And Tori's name came from that lady up there. Yep.
I know where mine came from.
No, I
Named much more than
Now, how did Ernest J. die?
Ernest J. died just from old age, basically, didn't he, Dad?
Basically, he went downhill after he broke his hip. Broke his hip.
He lived from 85 to 71, so he's getting up there.
He's pretty old.
So
Hardships of life.
he never remarried, or?
No.
Ryan.
I want all of you to know that Grandpa Nielsen pretty much made sure that there were headstones on all of these graves, because when I was a little girl, all that was here were wood markings.
Yep.
And Dad and Uncle Doug, they put the money together in order to mark all these graves properly. Not because Grandpa Nielsen wasn't known to save his money very well.
Great Grandpa Nielsen.
Great Grandpa Nielsen. Money he drank away. And so But your grandpa, he's the one that made sure he got buried properly and that he had a headstone, and he lived with us when he got old and really didn't have anywhere to go. He lived with us off and on, and with Doug and with Aunt Madge, until finally he got so his legs were so bad we couldn't move him, and then Dad, they put him in a rest home, and he died in a rest home in Salt Lake. Actually, we put him in a rest home in Mount Pleasant, but he ran away from it.
No, he ran away from
Ran away from
Oh, in
Nephi.
Nephi, yeah, he ran away. So we couldn't keep
And
him
went
there.
because you didn't like it there. You went to Mount Pleasant. That's where all his buddies were.
That little town we came through as we turned the corner, that's Mount Pleasant. And he used to
called Marge and I, we went down and got him, took him to Salt Lake City.
rest home.
But you guys all know about Memorial Day, right? Well, this is where we always spent our Memorial Days. Was here in Nephi,
And it used
putting
to be,
flowers on the graves.
and these graves didn't have grass on them, right?
No,
Terry?
this was all dirt in
It's
here.
all dirt. You'd
All
have to go down
dirt.
a day early and
And
clean the place up.
you guys have always you've seen pictures of graveyards where you have a mound of dirt.
That's
Well,
what
that's
they
the way
looked
these
like.
were. These were all mounds of dirt.
And there was weeds and like it looked just like up
Yeah,
there.
just like up on that mountain. That's what it looked like.
Is Aunt Madge buried down here? She's buried in Idaho.
So every Memorial Day, we'd have to come down, and before we could put any flowers on it, we'd have to.
We'd have to weed and rake and shovel and
Clean it up.
clean
Clean it up.
everything up.
Do you remember that, Cindy?
How far along was she when she died?
3 months. So this cemetery just in the last probably 10 years hasn't Dad?
It's been more than that. It's been
20?
About 15.
20 years ago.
20 years they've planted grass and had it taken care of.
Yeah, this used to be a big hole in here.
Yeah.
It wasn't only just a few, well, maybe a month or two after Dad died that they put a perpetual care on it, and then Doug and I had to pay for that, and then they didn't have to clean it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dad pays for the perpetual care, so we have this. Now, we're going to go ahead and just trail down this road. Look at this corner lot. That's where Grandpa was born. The house, and that's actually where I lived until I was about 3. But the house is gone. It's just a farmyard now. And then we'll turn the corner, turn right, and that'll be Aunt Tora's house.
You can't stop. Somebody else owns it.
Is that a different Nielson?
It doesn't look like there's anybody in there.
Oh, they're not related?
That old house Dad lived in, Trudy lived in for a while. It was a big wreck.
Oh, it's white. It's white.
There's a white house.
It was really tall.
But it was little.
Yeah, it was
But it
tall.
was tall.
But it was
Yeah, I mean, it's stuck out there in the middle of nowhere.
And Aunt Tora's house, someone's living in it. Marshall and I saw in the paper
It's abandoned.
there was a for sale sign on it.
Is there?
Was there a for sale
No,
sign?
when we were here, was it last 2 years ago? There was a family living there, but we just drove by there on the way here. Looks abandoned.
Maybe we can walk
All the
around it
weeds
then.
are high, and
Okay.
it doesn't look very
Aunt
good.
Tora's. It's empty.
People don't empty. I'll just walk around it.
You don't want to walk around it?
Nothing to walk around.
Okay. Well, we'll just look at it as we walk by it, okay? Probably be hard for Dad to see. Aunt Tora used to keep a nice yard, didn't she, Dad? She always
Yeah.
had a fish pond.
Have Dad tell you about the pet badger he had there in that yard.
Tell him, Dad.
Yeah, we caught a little one. He was just a baby when we got him. We'd kill sparrows for him. That's what he liked. And he'd get out every fall and go hibernate and come back in the spring. He'd done that for about 2 years. And there wasn't a dog on the block that would get around that badger. They were all scared of him. He was tame. We could pet him. But he'd leave every fall because they hibernated. That's for breeding season, so he got away from that in the fall, back in the spring. So somebody probably trapped him, I don't know.
You pet him?
We'd feed him. Kill sparrows for him, for flippers.
Did you go to this big elementary school that's over here? Is it the elementary school that you went to?
That old big
The
tall
big
building.
two-story
Yeah.
building?
Went to the elementary school and junior
Yeah.
high school was there too.
Because there's still the elementary school here. It was built in 1907.
That would be.
Is that the one you went to? So it's still being used.
Just across the road to the east of it is the junior high school.
Yes, it's still there. They're both still there.
But they don't use it anymore.
It looked like it's being used for something.
Back then. I think they go to Mount Pleasant for high school. And that may go to junior high there, I don't know.
Okay, the next place we're going to go from after we leave here is through Salt